With few exceptions, the media has also done little to help the populace understand the connections between community development, government finances, and professional commercialized sports.
There's a huge disparity between how we treat professional sports teams, where public financing is provided to professional sports teams in huge dollars, and community sports, where there's little or no funding available for community sports. Even though we may have community centers and we may have some things, it pales in comparison to the way we treat professional, private, for-profit, independently owned sports teams. They get huge subsidies and there's little or nothing left for communities.
Some people say that publicly funded stadiums improve local economies, but those some people, you could fit them in a phone booth. It usually involves the owners of pro sports teams and the political people that they have doing their bidding. But when it comes to people who actually know something about this, and when I say know something, I'm not even talking about community activists. I'm talking about economists who really look at the bottom line numbers. They all agree that public stadiums do not help communities. A study was just released that charted this over the course of 30 years and could not find evidence that publicly funded stadiums actually put money back into the community.
The purported financial benefit to the taxpayers and the public is exaggerated greatly on the part of the owners because they're really trying to benefit themselves, and their concern is really not to benefit the public. Over 50 years ago, the city of Pittsburgh decided that they wanted to get rid of the Hill District and join up downtown in Oakland, and they had a plan to take the whole Hill District and redevelop it. They wanted to build a cultural district for Pittsburgh. They forcibly removed more than 20,000 residents from the Hill District and built what is currently the Civic Arena, which is now the home for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The main thing that was placed on that land where the people's homes were that were displaced was a parking lot. 2,400 parking spaces. What normal corporations would do when they had a need to build a new company or a new facility is they would use the profits from their corporation and use that to build a new facility. However, with sports teams, it was fundamentally different from the beginning in different cities. Sports teams turned around and went back to the public and asked the public to finance their new stadiums, their new arenas, their new baseball fields. And this happened in city after city after city. And over time, each city felt compelled to compete with the next city that had a bigger and better stadium or field or arena. And in that competition for keeping sports teams in their city, they started to give more and more towards helping to rebuild and build these new facilities. So here in Pittsburgh, the public participated heavily in helping to build the new stadium for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the new field for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and more recently, in terms of the Hill, the new arena for the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team.
You know, it's wild when you look at a city landscape in this day and age, the way that you have all of these publicly funded private facilities for sports, and yet so much less public space for people to go out and play. And I think it's very important that demands are made on pro sports owners to try to provide public space for young people to play. I mean, they are dependent upon the economic goodwill of a community to survive. And they have to give something back at some point. You can't have a functioning society where you have unemployment spiking through the roof, cities in utter disrepair, and yet you have billionaire pro sports owners lording over these Coliseum franchises. This is just not a sign of a well-functioning society. You can't have a society where young people are watching grown men play, as opposed to vice versa.
While millions in tax dollars are used to support professional sports team facilities, urban athletic programs, dependent on a shrinking tax base, must do more with less.